Hey, everybody, welcome to the Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. On my right, we have Alexandra, who has 10 years of experience. We're going to dive into her story, a lot about her business. But for people that don't know you, right, this is their first time kind of listening in. Who is Alexandra and what is it that you do?
Hello, my name is Dr. Alexandra Elinsky. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Empower Human Potential LLC, a corporate training and executive coaching leadership development organization serving clients from around the world, both on-site and remotely.
So when you work with clients on site, what's the difference between, kind of working with them remotely, right? Because remotely you're not there, you're not, with the culture, with the team. Is there any difference that you're noticing in terms of results when you're kind of working with them in those different scenarios?
The results are largely the same. It's definitely more convenient to be in a remote environment,
Yeah,
but it's a little bit more engaging and interpersonal and fun when you are there, in front of people working in some sort of a classroom. So there's value in both, and I enjoy working on site and remote. But the
yeah.
bulk of the work that I do right now, because of COVID and everything, is been online, which has been very convenient for myself and the organizations. Then I don't have to travel quite as much.
Right,
But I
right.
do go on site if and when needed and required. I'm happy to do that.
So did you add kind of like remote as soon as like the pandemic happened? Is it because you had to pivot, or was it always an option that you kind of always had?
It was actually always an option because I started my organization in 2015, and the first couple years it was slow growth. But
Yeah.
then I started to grow more in 2018 and 2019, where I was doing more remote work prior to the pandemic hitting. So I've always been sort of a remote, home-based business,
Yeah.
for the coaching world, and that has worked out really well for me and really well for my clients as well. And then it
Yeah.
kind of saves money on the expense budgets as well
Oh,
too.
100%.
So
Yeah.
everybody wins, right?
Yep, yep. So for those listening in, what does the leadership coaching look like when they're working with you?
Yeah. Great question. So I have different programs set up and established depending on what they're looking for and what their needs are.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that what I'm doing right now are individualized, customized journeys where they are one-on-one per executive, per coaching participant.
Yeah.
So my journeys right now are held in 6 months and 12 months, and they are renewable. I have a standardized rubric that I give to them that kind of lays out the journey for them month by month, and then they get to pick the topics of conversation and learning that they want. I have a
Right.
list that they can pick from. I'm also open to their suggestions of things that they maybe have come up with. If they're not really sure, what their needs are, I'm always happy to make recommendations
Yeah.
after I talk to them, get to know them, and interview them a little bit. So that is the individual, and then I also offer the group coaching and training as well.
Yeah.
And those programs are kind of set up according to, like a 3 month or a 6 month or a 12 month, or just kind of depends on the terms of the engagement, really.
For the individual, for the one-on-ones, do you notice any common themes of like why they're hiring you, like the actual type of help that they need? Because sometimes leadership can be very broad, you
Yeah.
know. So is there a common theme that you're noticing when you're helping them develop these, individual plans?
That's a great question. And I will tell you that everybody hires me for a different reason. And I can give you
Yeah.
some of those reasons just to have an example. A lot of times what I've been noticing for the individual is that they actually want to promote somebody into a more senior leadership level role.
Yeah.
And so they'll say, hey, we're going to give you this candidate. This is the level that he or she is at. This is the level that we're hoping to promote them to in 6 months. But these are the 5 areas of competency that they need to work on and develop before we will offer that promotion.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
And then sometimes you do have, candidates that are in a little bit of trouble and have some more development areas that they need to work on. So they get assigned a coach for that reason. Other people, just need to learn how to lead others better and
Yeah.
how to enhance their people skills and their human relations skills because they prefer to work more by themselves when they have, several leaders underneath them to develop. They need to be able to learn how to lead others. So there's really an array of reasons why organizations hire me. Those are just a few,
Yeah.
but,
No, that's
yes.
good. And the reason why I was looking for examples is because, let's say somebody's having that issue right now, and they kind of like just unaware, don't know how to, how to move forward with that.
Sure.
This is kind of good information for them to kind of, move forward if they would decide to move forward.
Yeah.
Why did you end up choosing this path into helping people versus anything else? Because you literally, as humans, we can basically choose what we want to do. Why this specifically?
Another great question. So when I started college like 15 years ago, I got a bachelor's in psychology because my goal at that time was to be a clinical psychologist. So I was on that trajectory. And then when it came time for my master's, I got an MBA in finance only because it was practical and I felt like, it could take me anywhere. And then through that process, I discovered that I was good at business
Yeah.
and I liked business. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I merge these worlds together? Well, I wanted to get my PhD because my goal then at that time was to teach college full time.
Yeah.
And so I enrolled in the PhD program. And when I was working on my dissertation, I realized that I didn't like doing research, but my program was business and psychology. So I actually got to merge the business and psych together. And it was the
Yeah.
perfect combination because I liked both and I was good at both. And then one of my friends actually, inspired me to start my own business because I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I'm not a risk taker. I didn't know the first thing about launching a business,
Yeah.
but I think his belief in me and something that he saw in me that I could do this, that I was capable enough to do this for whatever reason, that just overnight kind of changed my life. And I started the first business and then I started a second business that I have as well. And
Yeah.
so here we are today. So my journey and story really actually evolved over time. Like I had a plan and I started on that path. And then as I kept learning and moving forward and growing, things sort of more or less revealed themselves to me. And I was able to see the areas that I had talents and strengths and areas that I actually enjoyed because, right, you want a job, you want a career that you absolutely love. You don't want to go into something that you're going to hate.
Right.
So I feel like my path, maybe even a little unusual, really led me to the place I am today. And I'm very grateful for that because I absolutely love what I do and nothing that I do ever feels like I'm working.
And how did that conversation start when your friend told you like, you probably be really good at business, like you should open up a business basically. So how did that conversation come about?
That conversation actually happened like a good 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I was trying to think about that this morning actually. And I'm like, I don't remember how it came. We must have been talking about business
Yeah.
or maybe what I was doing at that time, or maybe I didn't like what I was doing at that time. And it was more or less a suggestion. Yeah, it's just amazing how other people's words have so much power in our own lives.
They do. They do. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons why people hire you is because they maybe might lack the strategy or they might not know how to kind of move forward. And, when you're there and because you've studied psychology and business, like you're able to kind of power through that. Not everybody does that, right? And then not everybody, yeah. So that's a testament to like, all the work that you've done, which is great. In terms of, is there like, and I don't usually ask this, but I'm very curious. Is there like a specific type of client that you just love working with, like in an ideal avatar?
Specific type of client.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody that is eager to learn and grow because they just absorb so much and you just see that revolution happening within them.
Yeah.
And you see them going from point A to point Z, right? And it's just an amazing journey to be their support champion through their own journey process.
Yeah. So basically, they're coachable. They're taking in a lot of the things that you're telling them. They're moving it along, and you could tell like they really want to move forward and grow. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have clients, like I have a lot of my clients read books. I'm always making book recommendations
Oh,
all
wow.
the time. And I have so many people tell me, I've never been a reader. I've never enjoyed reading, and you have me reading every single night, and these books are changing my life. So it's
Yeah.
like you see kind of the impact that it does have, and it multiplies.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure if you're familiar, but there's this guy named Patrick Bet-David. He said that, like, whenever somebody works with his company, he always makes them read a book. If they don't read a book, they're not a part of the culture. And I think number one, I think that's extreme, but two, I think that's a good habit to have because they're
Yeah.
always learning and constantly growing.
Right.
And I think with the age of like the internet and us being able to like constantly get gratification immediately, I
Yeah.
think sitting through a book is, I think, difficult more than now than it's ever been. But what do you find when people that do sit down, do pay attention, and do read the book? Do you find that they're just a little bit more successful, that they're more patient, that they're more in control of themselves? What do you end up finding? Is there any correlation?
Good question. The effects of reading really multiply. They just get better in so many different, because I make book recommendations that are customized to them and what they're going through. Like I
Right.
don't recommend the same books to every single client.
Yeah.
And I'll even have them try to read 3 or 4 at a time. And you're seeing the different areas of their life that they are growing in. And it's just something that I find to be very rewarding because like this is not an avenue that they would have considered before. Like they never would have thought, oh, I can learn from a book when I can just access information online so easily. It's
Yeah.
like you're really, as a person, you're really missing out if you're not reading, because if you're not reading and you don't have another way to learn, then you're kind of not growing and you're not expanding your horizons when it comes to knowledge. Like I teach college, I have a PhD, so learning and knowledge is something that is very important to me.
Yeah.
And that is something that I will share with not just my clients, but family and friends and everyone I know. As much as I love my own book, sometimes I'll give them away to people if I know that they're really in need of that particular book. And that's why I read 4 to 6 books at a time so I can keep growing and be a competent practitioner for my clients, because if
Right.
I don't have anything to give to them, then they're not going to gain anything of value from me. So it really helps to keep me fresh, to read these business books, leadership books, human empowerment books, human relations books, all these different topics that, I work on with them.
Yeah. Now, what about if a client is not so eager to follow the advice, not so eager to read the books? Because like you said, you work in a classroom, so you're able to teach a multitude of a variety of students, right?
Right.
There's students that get it done immediately. There's students that probably don't get it done, and that experience that you have probably transitions into business as well.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of help them make the transition from like, I'm not as eager to do this, or there's a lot of resistance to, okay, I know this is good for me. I know the things that you're telling me are good for me, and to kind of make that transition.
You first have to get them to understand that they have to take ownership for their life and accountability for their own growth and improvement in the different areas that they want to grow and improve in. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that understanding of, this is my life. I have choices. I can take these recommendations or not. My coach and trainer is not going to force me. That is not her job.
Yep. Yep.
To endlessly persuade. But I take the approach of education to show them like the meaning and the purpose and the value of reading and learning. And I've never had a person that's had a problem with that. I never
Yeah.
had a person that didn't understand or wasn't willing to at least try. It's never been an issue in my years of practice.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's really, really good. I think it's also kind of just another testament to like the way that you teach, probably, right? Because like if you're already showing the value up front in a lot of your teachings, not just the books, but the teachings, then it's very clear to them from the beginning, right? Of why they need to do something or why they need the help and
The
things
why.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The why. If people, I believe this in every area of life, if people understand the why, there's usually never a problem.
Yeah.
I rarely come across resistance because I am so, I tell them at the very beginning the why, and I give them the reason, and I spell out the process. And with me, no one ever has to guess. No one even
Yeah.
really has to ever ask questions
Yeah.
because I'm just so clear, and I believe in giving them information, because I know what it feels like for me when I don't have information and I have to like ask 100 questions, and I don't like being in that position.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I take good care of my clients to make sure that they never feel like that. And I don't have, rarely problems ever with
Yeah.
people.
What is, going back to that why, like what is your why and why you do this?
Why I started my own business.
Well, not necessarily why you started it, but why you continue, right? Because you have, like you said, you have two businesses. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So why do you continue to stay in this lane? Is it just because you're good at it?
Well, I mean, I have a daughter to support. I'm a single
Yeah,
mom.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't have a lot of choices in life, but I love it. I love people. I've always been a people person. I've always been an empath. I've always been a good listener. I've always been a good friend. And coaching is really a people business, because you're really nurturing
Yeah.
the mind and the person, and you're getting people to learn how to become more human, which is really empowering for them. So my why is, number one, to serve my clients. And number two, because when I empower others and when I build the confidence in others and when I make other people feel good about themselves, guess what happens? All of it comes back to me.
Yeah.
And we both win. And everything, that I teach, my students, my coaching participants, my corporate clients, everything that I teach them, they're also teaching me things too. So even though that I'm the teacher and I'm the coach, I'm also the coachee and I'm also the student, right? Because
Yeah.
it's that relationship that you build and you nurture.
Constantly growing.
Yes.
Right?
And that's
Yeah.
why everybody wins and everybody walks away happy.
Yeah. And how do you find the time to do that? Because like you mentioned, you have a lot of things going on, right? You have the
Yes.
businesses, you're also a mother, like, and from my experience, when I see people like that, it's like you're spread thin, right? How do you have the time to kind of do it all? Are you just prioritizing correctly?
It's good time management.
Yeah.
I do have work-life balance, I
Yeah.
will say. Being an entrepreneur definitely gives you that luxury.
Yeah.
Because it's, not the 9 to 5. You just have to prioritize and make time for everything. So I'm very organized, I'm very scheduled, so that does help. But, really there's an element of faith too, because there's days when it does get hard, and
Yeah.
there's days when you're like, how am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But I'm somebody that, nobody held my hand growing up. Nobody told me to go to college. Nobody paid for my college. And so everything that I've done, I've kind of realized like, this is a choice.
Yeah.
And this is a choice to a better future for myself and a better future for every single person that I'm ever going to serve in business someday. Because life is hard, but everything does come down to the choices that we make. And so because I made choices in my early 20s to go to college instead of partying, I now have a life today that I truly love, and I serve people who really take very well to me and who I have great business relationships with. So the days that it does get hard, you just have to take a step back, have faith, give yourself, the emotional nurturance, the self-compassion that you need to get up again tomorrow and, go kick more booty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's just life. Life is just going to keep moving forward, right? And as long as you stay the course, you're going to get to where you want to go. And that has definitely been proven to me, because I don't, I'm like a first generation college student,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
life was harder for me. My friends, their parents paid for their college, mine did not. So I had a very non-traditional route, but I do believe that non-traditional route has given me the momentum and the motivation to be where I am today, and I am so immensely thankful for that.
Yeah, I agree. And it is very inspiring to see,
Yeah.
Going through college is very difficult.
Yes.
I didn't make it. Right.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's difficult. Like, well, I didn't want to make it, for one, but
Okay.
it is hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Like, they expect you to. First of all, it's not just being in the classroom. You have homework, then you need to have a job because you need to support yourself.
Right.
Then, so it's not just one thing.
Right.
So you did that. You are a single mother. You own two businesses. You help coach all of these, big executives and things like that. It's it can be very taxing. But what I like about what you're telling me is the fact that you're very self-aware, right?
Mhm.
You know some days are not going to be it.
Right.
And the days that are not it, you're taking the time for yourself. You're kind of realizing that you're not, you don't let yourself kind of go down. And I think because you maybe were once there where you're like, I probably don't want to, and now you're a mom, so like you can't really do that again, can't go down. So that is big congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, there's a moth in here. But anyways, aside from that, people are interested in working with you, right? They're learning more about your story. They're inspired by it, and they want to connect with you. Like, first of all, where can they go to see if this is the right thing for them?
Like like to
Like,
connect with me
not
or
necessarily connect with
okay.
you, but if they want to, because connecting with you can be socials, things like that. But if they want to work with you,
Mhm.
where can they go? Is there like a certain website that you have that kind of like tells more people about the work that you end up doing?
Yes.
Okay, and
The website is www.empowerhp.org. So empowerhumanpotential.org, but
yeah,
HP.
yeah. How did the name come up? First of all,
Empower Human Potential.
yeah.
Because in those three words, that tells somebody exactly what I do.
Well, that's a very smart thing to do. Yep, you are very good at business.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Sweet.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Is there any place that people can find you personally?
Yeah, I live on LinkedIn. So I am Alexandra Elinsky on LinkedIn. You can send me a connection request, send me a message. I'll get back to you right away. I'm always on. You can also email me at team@empowerhp.org or call 440-812-1612. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely. Thank you.